The readings for Saturday, November 12th. The epistle reading comes from St. Paul's second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 9, verses 6 through 11. But this I say, he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. So let each one give as he proposes in his heart, not grudgingly or of necessity. For God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that you, always having all sufficiency in all things, may have an abundance for every good work. As it is written, He has dispersed abroad, He has given to the poor, His righteousness endures forever. Now may He who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food supply and multiply the seed you have sown and increase the fruits of your righteousness, while you are enriched in everything for all liberality, which causes thanksgiving through us to God. All right, got some footnotes from the Orthodox Study Bible. One, anyways. It's for verses 6 through 15. So just a couple verses past what we read today. Feel free to read the rest in your own Bibles or apps if you wish to have the full context here. But yeah, this is for verses 6 through 15. Here is Paul's landmark teaching on Here is Paul's landmark teaching on Christian stewardship. It's tricky to say for some reason. The metaphor is not the giving of money, but the sowing of seed for a harvest. And where does the seed come from? God himself, as seen in verse 10. Our gospel reading is from the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verses 14 through 19. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Do not think that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For assuredly, I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle will by no means pass from the law till all is fulfilled. Whoever, therefore, breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches men so, shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does and teaches them, he shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. All right, some footnotes from the Orthodox Study Bible. So for verses 13 through 16, so it starts just one verse before what we read, FYI. It says that salt and light illustrate the role of disciples in society. Because of its preservative powers, its necessity for life, and its ability to give flavor, salt had religious and sacrificial significance. In Leviticus 2, verse 13, and it says to see also Numbers chapter 18, verse 19, and 2 Chronicles chapter 13, verse 5. To eat salt with someone meant to be bound together in loyalty. As the salt of the earth, Christians are preservers of God's covenant and give true flavor to the world. God is the true and uncreated light. In the Old Testament, light is symbolic of God, as noted in Isaiah chapter 60, verse 1 through 3. The divine law, Psalm 118, verse 105, and Israel in contrast to other nations. So let's read all that without the parentheses. It's kind of choppy. God is the true light and uncreated light. In the Old Testament, light is symbolic of God, the divine law, and Israel in contrast to all other nations. In the New Testament, the Son of God is called light, as seen in John chapter 1, verses 4 through 9, chapter 8, verse 12, and 1 John chapter 1, verse 5. Light is necessary for both clear vision and for life itself. Faith relies on this divine light, and believers become sons of light. John chapter 12, verse 36, and 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 5, who shine in a perverse world. As seen in Philippians chapter 2, verse 15. So let's read that sentence too again without the references. Faith relies on this divine light, and believers become sons of light who shine in a perverse world. In many parishes, the Pascha or Easter liturgy begins with a candle being presented and an invitation to come receive the light, which is never overtaken by night. For verse 16, Christian virtues have both a personal and public function, for our virtue can bring others to glorify the Father. For verse 17, Jesus fulfills the law in himself, in his words, and in his actions. Number 1, by performing God's will in all its fullness, as seen in chapter 3, verse 15. Number 2, transgressing none of the precepts of the law, seen in John chapter 8, verse 46, and chapter 14, verse 30. Number 3, declaring the perfect fulfillment of the law, which he was about to deliver to them. And number 4, granting righteousness, the goal of the law to us, as seen in Romans chapter 3, verse 31, chapter 8, verse 3 and 4, and chapter 10, verse 4. He fulfills the prophets by both being and carrying out what they foretold. Yeah, once again, narrator's commentary here. For us Christians, we believe that truth is a man, or another way to say is truth is a who, not a what. So as I noted in a previous recording of one of these days, the Old Testament law was more or less like training wheels to help get God's people out of the Bronze Age, plunder and murder and rape, help get us on the path. And then once Christ was ready to come to earth, he fulfilled the law. And I never honestly knew what that meant in the first steps of my spiritual walk. But this is a good footnote that says what that means. And so I'll read it back again without the references. Jesus fulfills the law in himself, in his words, and in his actions, by 1, performing God's will in all its fullness, 2, transgressing none of the precepts of the law, 3, declaring the perfect fulfillment of the law, which he was about to deliver to them, and number 4, granting righteousness, the goal of the law, to us. So he fulfills the prophets by being himself and carrying out what they foretold. I had to repeat all that again just because it is very important. Our faith isn't doing what Jesus said or reading the words of Jesus or anything peripheral like that. It is being united to Christ. It is a life struggle and goal to imitate him to the best of our abilities and to be united to him physically in the sacraments, like communion. So, can't be stressed enough. All right, for verse 18, assuredly means truly or confirmed or so be it. Jesus uses it as a solemn affirmation, a form of oath. Christ's use of this word at the beginning of certain proclamations, rather than at the end, is unique and authoritative. He declares his words affirmed before they are even spoken. Ajat, I guess is what that word is the smallest letter in the Greek alphabet. A tittle is the smallest stroke in a certain Hebrew letters. Thus, the whole of the law is affirmed as the foundation of Christ's new teaching. All is fulfilled refers to the passion and resurrection of Christ. Sorry for all these narrator side notes here, but yeah, I'm just reading things like this with this added context. It's so hard for me to understand how some of the deep heresies, not little minutia, but things about like the Trinity or the personhood of Christ can arise. You know, if you're a Mormon or if you're a Jehovah's Witness, I'm trying to think of who else thinks that he's just an angel or a demigod of some type. The Bible is pretty clear. It's been in here almost 20 centuries now. Who Christ is, who he in his own words says he is, and what his mission is. What he died on the cross for. It's all right in here. You know, sometimes the King James language is pretty wooden. We don't have the first century Hebrew context culturally, but these footnotes really make it clear to me. I don't know. It seems hard to deny, to go off into heresy and try to say like, well, he didn't actually die, or, whatever Muslims might believe or something, All right, last footnote is for verse 19. Righteousness, according to the law, is an unified whole. The observance of all the least commandments is to observe the whole law, while the violation of the least commandment is considered a violation of the whole law. Well, for how short these passages are, this is going longer than I would have liked, so I'm going to wrap it up now. I hope you all have a blessed and wonderful weekend, and please keep me, a sinner, in your prayers. Thank you.